globally. So the demand in terms of what costs that we can invest now for the preservation and defense of clean water, as well as for the protection of, I think, our environment, that cost is worth it. But the problem is that we are still of a consciousness as a population, almost of the last sort of 2 generations. There is not a green metric. There is no metric well enough to understand the true cost of what we're saving or what we're investing in, because this is a new science. This is a new policy science. But in the long run, we'll be able to tell what we're saving so far based on what scientific data that we have. By the reduction of sulfides that are emitted, or carbon that is emitted into the atmosphere, we'll be able to make the correlation of the CO2 or greenhouse gas emission reductions to the air quality and to the soil quality and water quality. That yardstick is now in place, and we'll be able to tell what the difference is in the agricultural fields as well as in the health fields. For example, in an area of Northern California, asthma, respiratory sicknesses are heightened. The respiratory sicknesses are aligned to areas of where highway and manufacturing is also prominent, highly pronounced. We know with the reduction of car usage, of the pollution of cars, and of the reduction of manufacturing, then the health costs would certainly be reduced due to the caretaking of the respiratory connection of the people who live in that particular area. So we can begin to make these correlations with clarity, and it's not hyperbole or rhetoric, that we'll be able to, on the front end, understand that it's going to take some investment and some conversion of habits, but on the long end, be able to protect people's health and the environment so it's sustained for lower costs in the future. And I guarantee you, by the way, there's a book, and this is somebody who was kind of my mentor many years ago by reading, a man named E.F. Schumacher. E.F. Schumacher was, who's died a long time ago, wrote a book, kind of an environmentalist book many years ago that helped started this, called Small is Beautiful. It was written, I think, in the 1960s or early 70s. Small is Beautiful started to argue for what a green economy would look like in being able to establish a metric system that is able to capture these costs. Governments have been extremely slow, but I will give credit. The Scandinavian governments have begun to figure this out really well, and so has the German government. They have begun to figure out what those metrics look like for these associated costs. And what's important about that metric on cost is that now their local and regional and federal governments are budgeting, their policymakers, our counterparts, are budgeting based on that new green science, that green policy science. That's a smart policy science. We don't even budget that way yet. So when we are budgeting to, say, buy cars for the police force or buy new buses, we're now just getting into this new science to make sure that if you're going to buy automobiles, make sure the automobile doesn't pollute. If we're going to go ahead and invest in infrastructure in San Francisco, for example, when we build a new building, that building has to now comply with what is called the gold or platinum LEED standards. In other words, it has to be a green building. You do not get a permit for land use if you want to build housing in San Francisco or a commercial building unless it aligns itself with green building principles. So it's going to be more expensive on the front end, but in the long run, we'll all be better off for it. I'm afraid I'm going to have to go.
you very much for your presentation.
Thank you again.
No, my complete pleasure. I lost track of time. I enjoy our conversation. I am honored to be talking, to all of you. And if there is anything I can do, I'll let our facilitator here pass my information along. Feel free to email me. I have to tell you, we have been deluged with people from around the world who are asking about the plastic bag ban. So I'm optimistic, I'm hopeful, because conversations like this are happening between us and many others around the globe. But also the opposition to this idea is now growing in proportion to this idea that is also blossoming. So anything along the environment or green economy that I can help with, please consider me a partner, please consider me a friend. I hope my information is passed on, and I just want to say I hope to come visit your wonderful country someday. Thank you.